In this video, I'm going to show you how to model a sci-fi camera concept. We're going to be using basic Blender tools. So this tool is going to be beginner friendly. Let's go. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to add a cube. So Shift A and add a cube. And now I'm going to be using Machine Tools add-on. So if you don't have it, go ahead and get it. And I don't want to hear any complaining that the add-on costs $5. If you cannot afford $5, I can't help you. You need to fix your life, okay? Now, before we start, if you're completely new to Blender and you want to learn as efficiently as possible hard surface modeling, then I would recommend you grab our course, which is called Hard Surface Accelerator, and it's fantastic. It's a very tight curriculum which will guide you through all the stages of modeling in Blender, starting with the Blender UI, all the tools, what you need, what you don't need, all the basics of shading, topology, etc. And then we're gonna start with modeling section, and you're gonna learn how to create blockouts, how to detail them, how to refine them, and then you're going to learn how to texture them, render them, and post-process them. So the entire workflow from the very basics to the final product for your portfolio is explained and really well laid out. Now I know that many people struggle with creating models on their own without any references or without any tutorials, and that's exactly what this course will teach you. It will give you more confidence in creating really cool concept models. Now, like I said, this curriculum is really tight. You can just spend less than 1 hour, every day, and within 2 weeks you're gonna be done and you're gonna be on a whole different level. So if you want to learn hard surface modeling as efficiently as possible, click on the link in the video description and get the course. And currently we're running a promotion, so if you're gonna click on the link in the video description and get the course, you're gonna get 50% off. So it's a really fantastic deal. So anyway, I'll see you inside. Now let's get back to our course. Now I was joking with the cube. We're not gonna be using cube, so let's delete it. We're gonna be using cylinder. I was just pulling your leg, all right? RX90 to rotate it on the 90 degrees on a x-axis, and we're going to go to the front view. So hold Alt middle mouse button, you can move your operator scene and change the view, and GX to move it on the x-axis so we can mirror it to the other side, right? So in order to mirror this to the other side, we need to add a mirror modifier. So let's go here and go to generate and mirror. And now we want to mirror this across, across the middle of the scene. Now, unfortunately, mirror in Blender is very limited. The HardOps mirror is far more robust and far more, has far more interesting functions and options, and it's way easier to use, which is why I would recommend you use these add-ons day one. But in this video, we're not going to be using HardOps or box cutter, so I'm going to show you how to go around it, right? So we're going to add an empty, so Shift A and add an empty. So go here in plane axis. And we're going to use this empty as a pivot point, okay? So click on the cylinder and select this pipette and click on the empty. And you see by default, it's going to mirror to the other side because we have the x-axis selected. So it's literally mirroring across along the x-axis to the other side. So now we have this mirrored, so we're gonna move one or change anything on this cylinder, and we're gonna, it's gonna be reflected on the other side, right? So now what we wanna do, we wanna make it a bit longer. So S, Y, and skeleton Y axis. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to flatten the top, okay? But before we do this, we're gonna duplicate this cylinder to create kind of like an inner lens, all right? So Shift D, right? Shift D. And cancel. Now you got two models kind of overlapping one another. They're the same size, so you can't really see that you have two models, but you do. You have this cylinder and this cylinder, okay? So we're gonna grab the first one. So switch here to the first cylinder. It doesn't really matter which one you're selecting first, but and go to face mode. So press tab and face. And if you're not using machine tools, you're fired. But if you're not using machine tools, you can switch modes in here. You can press 1, 2, 3, 3 for faces, and press tab to switch between object and edit mode. But honestly, get machine tools because this add-on is phenomenal, okay? And we're gonna be using this add-on to flatten and align the faces. So, you wanna get it now, okay? Now select these faces, and what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna press Alt A and bottom. Now if this menu doesn't show for you, it means you need to enable it, okay? So go to preferences, type machine tools here, and go here to the menu, and you want to enable this align and also align pi, which is this one, alignments, okay? You want to, hang on a second, let me just make this a little bit bigger. this one, yeah, alignment pi, and then save preferences, because by default this is not enabled. And this will allow you to do this, okay? Let's hide this cylinder for a second because we want to see what's happening. And we're gonna do the similar thing on the bottom, okay? We could technically mirror this to the bottom, but you know, we can flatten it too. So select the select the four faces here, Alt A and top. And this align tool is view based, so you kind of have to be aligned from the front view in order to flatten them from your view. Do you understand? So that's how it works. Now what we're going to do, we're going to delete these two faces because we don't need them. So select them and then press X and delete. And we're going to solidify this. Now before we're going to use solidification, what you want to do is you want to apply scale. And scale in Blender is something really important, and you can clearly see it in here. If you go to item, you will see that the scale of this object is not uniform. And the reason why it's not uniform is because we scaled it on the y-axis, right? So the y-axis here, you see, it's a bit longer. Now, in order to make sure that the bevels, solidification, array, etc., many operations are uniform, you want to nuke this scale down to 111. So you want to equalize it, right? And in order to do that, you want to press Ctrl A, go to scale and reset, and you see that all these numbers got reset to 1. Now the scale of this object is uniform, so we can do all kinds of stuff, like for example, solidification, bevels, etc. Okay. So now let's grab the solidification modifier. So go to generate and go to solidify, and we're going to solidify it outside. Okay, so you can collapse this menu here, and you can hold shift, and you see we're going to go outside. Yeah, not inside, outside, right? And do something like that. Cool. Now, if you do not see this menu here, that's because I have an extension installed called modifier tools. So go to extensions and type modifier tools, enable this extension, and you're going to be able to see this menu here. This will allow you to, for example, toggle stack of modifiers. It's very useful and I really like it. With this done, let's turn on our cylinder back, and we're going to make it a bit smaller. Yeah, so select the cylinder and just scale it a little bit. And we're going to make it a bit longer, just so it sticks out a little bit outside of this frame, okay? So now here, what we can do, we can actually cut this top either with Boolean, or we could simply use, you know, the existing topology. So let's grab this element here, this one, and press / on the keyboard to go to local view, because we want to see what's happening here underneath, right? So what we want to do, we want to go to edit mode, to face mode, and now we're going to delete these two faces, okay? And I think maybe on the bottom I'm going to leave them. So let's nuke them here, okay, for the time being. And we're going to select this edge here, this one, and we're going to move it to the right on X, and then we're going to actually do the same thing on the other side. Now what we could do technically here, we could mirror this across itself. So we could have two mirrors, one mirroring the model to the other side, and one mirror mirroring it across itself, okay? So if I'm going to add another mirror here, right, generate mirror, you see I need to move this mirror to the top first, okay? And then we're going to bisect it, and this is going to mirror from this side to this side. Mirror in Blender is extremely confusing, right? You would think that flip's gonna work, but flip is not gonna work. You need to bisect it. Don't ask me why. I have no idea who designed it, but they need help. This is why I would suggest using Hardup's mirror, because it's way easier, all right? Now what we want to do is you want to smooth this, because you see it's a bit jaggedy, right? So let's go back out of this local view. So press / again on keyboard. And we're going to right click this model and add something that's called Shade Auto Smooth. This is going to tell Blender which edges you want to keep sharp. And it's really important. The same with this one, right? You need this for hard surface modeling, because you need well-defined sharp edges. With this done, let's make this lens a little bit smaller. Or actually, you know what we could do here? I think I might actually mirror this to the bottom as well. So we're going to be mirroring from right to left and from top to bottom. So we're going to add another axis to the equation, which is going to be z-axis. And we're going to, hang on, it's going to work? Or is it y-axis? Yeah, it's y. See how confusing it is? And I'll tell you why it's y-axis. Because this object is actually rotated, okay? So the rotation of this object is also not uniform. You see, it's actually rotated by 90 on x, which means the y-axis flipped to the top. So if I'm gonna be moving this, right, on a y-axis, I'm gonna be moving it actually on this axis, but technically the local axis, right, is vertical. So watch, GYY, and it's vertical, you see. So the local orientation of this object is on the y-axis vertically, but the global orientation obviously is here. So this is a bit confusing, but if you're going to apply rotation, things gonna reset. So z-axis for this object is actually here, GZZ, right? That's a local orientation because we rotated it, remember? The cylinder was vertical, right, like this. Z-axis was here. We rotated it, so if, you know, it went 90 degrees to the left, you see what I mean? And the y followed, so now y is vertical. So you need to kind of remember about this when you're modeling. Otherwise, you're going to be confused, okay? So there are two different, you know, I mean, there are many other orientations in Blender, but the main ones you're going to be using is here, global and local. So the global is this one, a local is this one, right? Local always follows the object rotation, right? Unless you're going to go to Control A and apply rotation, that's going to reset the rotation, and these values are going to be back to 0, okay? Just like with the scale. Make sense? Cool. All right, so with this done, this is pretty cool. I like that. What we're going to do now is we're going to work on this lens, right? Now, the resolution of this model isn't super, you know, super great, but we can always add a subdivision modifier later. And even though we're not going to have perfect quad topology, it doesn't matter. Because, you know, for example, if you, let's say, creating this for a portfolio or for like, you know, for as a concept, just to show someone, you don't really need you know, any specific topology. Doesn't matter. What matters is the final render, because that's what you're going to be showing, right? And then depending on the purpose of the model, you can, you know, worry about topology or not. It depends. You know, many people think that oh, you need quads everywhere. You know, you don't. Even in games, especially in games and hard surface models, all the pros who work on games and they know they, you know, they can take a shortcut with n-gons and boolean workflow, they will, especially when the mesh doesn't deform, because it's simply not needed unless you need it for texturing, etc, etc. But it's a rabbit hole. But anyway, for this purpose we don't really need to worry about topology, so forget about it, you know, it's fine. So now let's go to face mode. So press tab and go to face mode, I to insert it, and we're going to press E to extrude it a little bit inside, okay? Not too much, just a little bit. Then I'm going to insert it really, really deep, like that. And I'm going to actually move this slightly in, and then extrude it in like that, right? And I'm going to chamfer this edge. So let's go to edge mode, right? Select it with Alt, Control B, and you're just gonna be able to chamfer it a little bit. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. What it's going to do is going to create this kind of like a planar shift and cast a bit of a shadow in the middle. It's going to improve a bit the design and make it a bit more interesting. Otherwise, you know, this cutout here will be very flat. We could even make it stronger by adjusting the, you know, the scale of the middle part here. Yeah, cool. So with this done, I think we're good. Another thing I would like to do is Control R here, move it in. We're going to move it actually a little bit closer, split this, then E to extrude it in, right? And create this kind of a cutout around this lens. Now we're going to be adding bevel. So let's grab a bevel here and just add it. Now in vanilla Blender, you have to pay attention to modifier stack. We're going to be talking about it a bit later as well. But the order of modifier is really important, okay? If you're going to mess up the order, things not gonna be peachy, so, you know, just pay attention. Blender vanilla bevel is awful. You need to perform a few actions. For example, you need to change the number of segments to 3, because that's perfect number of segments for small bevels. You want to change this miter from arc to from sharp to arc to improve the corners, the concave corners for bevels. I could actually show you what I mean. So if I have a cube here and I created you know, a boolean here, right, like this. So I'm just gonna cut it. So select them both in Control minus, and if Control minus doesn't work for you, what you want to do is go to extensions and enable extension called bool tool. Okay, this will allow you to use shortcuts on the numpad key. That's gonna save you a ton of time working with this rubbish vanilla Blender booleans, because they're from 1956. Now if I'm gonna add a bevel here, right, so let me just generate the bevel, you see what I mean. Let me just increase the number of segments, go to change and see that now the miter sharp, what it's gonna do, right? It's gonna create these nasty corners here. So what you wanna do is you wanna change that to arc to fix this, right? Now let's adjust this bevel a little bit. So let's just move it and adjust it. We also need to add weighted normal modifier because that's why we're getting all these shading problems. This weighted normal modifier needs to be on the bottom of the stack, and it's going to flex everything and help you to shade all these faces. There we go, problem solved, you see. And now you see order of modifiers is important. I would actually keep the weighted normal underneath the smooth by angle. So I would move it like this, and then, you know, everything is peachy. So that's why you want this miter to be set to arc, okay? So going back to our example here, let's just fix this. Let's toggle the modifier stack, and the bevel size, I mean, it could be a little bit smaller. I think it's a bit too big, so we can just make it a bit smaller. And obviously we need, you know, we need to add weighted normals. So let's go here and boom, and this is going to fix the problem. Now you see our model is a little bit faceted because the cylinder isn't of that great resolution, but like I said, you can always add the, you know, subdivision modifier. So we can go Control 1 to add subdivision, and the subdivision needs to be underneath the bevel, but above smooth by angle and weighted normal, okay? If I'm gonna move it above the bevel, it's gonna be a disaster, okay? See what I mean? Because bevel is what's holding the structure of this subdivision, right? It's holding all these corners here and edges. So it's kind of like a cheat code for subdivision. When you're using subdivision modifier, you do not need smooth by angle, because by default, all the angles going to be defined by the subdivision and control loops, which in our case is bevel. So you want to remove that, and this is going to improve the shading on some bevels, okay? You don't need that. All you need is weighted normal modifier. So this should be fine, and there you go. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go here to edit mode, and we're going to press Shift D to duplicate this face, okay? Right click to cancel, press P, and we're going to create a separate object out of this, right? See here? So now we can actually use just this face. So just click here, and you can see there's a face, there's a separate object, and we can solidify it. So we gotta be careful. Let's go to local view, because now we're gonna be adding solidification, and look what happens to our model when I'm gonna do that. Where solidification gonna go on the bottom, you see the shading is all messed up, right? Because solidification has to be above the bevel, above the subdivision, and then it's gonna, so you're first solidifying, then you're beveling, and then you're subdividing, okay? It's, the order is essential. It's not important, it's essential, okay? Look at this, right? If I move it in here, disaster. Why? Because bevel is not holding the solidification, because the model being solidified, then bevel is holding the edges, and then subdivision is making it smooth. Do you see what I mean? So you need all that in order. It's really important, okay? So let's toggle this, and we're good to go. Now we're going to make this a bit smaller. So let's go to front view, orthographic, make it a bit smaller, right? Now what I would like to do is I would like to apply the solidification here, right? So the solidification is applied, but the rest is actually live. What you need to be careful with is applying modifiers not in order from the top. Usually you want to apply from the top, but in this case, since this is just a mirror, it's fine. But if I applied subdivision before applying bevel, look what's going to happen. It's going to be a disaster, you see. You need to apply them in order. It's really important because, again, bevel holds the structure, subdivision makes it more smooth. So you need to apply the bevel, then subdivision, right? So it just comes with practice, but, you know, when something weird happens to your mesh, remember that. Now this origin point, since we duplicated this circle, this plane, this face from this main cylinder, you know, the origin point of this object is back in here, right? We want to move it all the way to the front. And for this, we can use Shift S with machine tools and move object origin to geometry. Now, if this menu doesn't show up for you, again, you want to go here to add-ons, you want to go to machine tools, and you want to enable, right? You want to enable this menu here. Come on, why is it not scrolling? This one, cursor and origin. Now, I have two massive videos on machine tools on YouTube. Go ahead and watch them. and you're gonna be a master of machine tools, okay? We're going to move this forward a bit, and I'm going to go to edit mode, select this, and create kind of like a tiny, you know, extrusion here like that, to create this kind of like an inner lens inside. And in fact, you know what? Let's go back, Control Z. Let's extrude this here, inside it, and extrude it outside a bit. Yeah. I don't need to worry about any of the control loops for the subdivision because my bevel is holding everything, so it's easier to model. Now, do you remember that we applied scale on this one, right? Everything was fine. Now, I want you to pay attention to how the bevels look on this mesh, okay? They're a little bit weird, right? See that? They just not... There's something off with the bevels, especially on this model. Look at this. This bevel is just weird. It's kind of like distorted. It's not really... You see that? It's kind of like sharp. It's kind of like stretched. And the reason is because we didn't apply scale on the other model. So now I want you to watch carefully and pay attention to what's going to happen to this bevel when I'm going to apply the scale here, okay? You ready? Control A and apply scale. And boom, you see that? How it got fixed? So when you're modeling, remember to apply it. Now, again, when you're using hard ups and box cutter, this is done automatically for you, so you don't have to think about it, which saves you a lot of time, which is why you should be using these add-ons. Now let's grab all these three models here, right? All of them, all three. And we're going to move them closer together, okay? A bit closer here, right there, okay? Cool. And we're going to create the casing, right? So we're going to grab this cylinder, and we're going to Shift D this cylinder one more time. Let's go to local view here. We're going to nuke the subdivision, and we're going to nuke the mirror for now. In fact, you know what? Let's keep the mirror. So with this done, we don't really need any of this in the middle. So we're going to select this face, press Ctrl plus, select all this, and delete it, okay? The same here, we're going to delete that. And all I need really is the top part, starting from here all the way to the bottom, okay? That's what I need. So Ctrl I and delete this, right? Now what we're gonna do, we're going to go to vertex mode, select these verts, right, and GX and move them here. If you're gonna go too far, you see that they're gonna overlap. So what you wanna do is you wanna go here to mirror and enable clipping, which should fix the problem. So let's try again. There we go, and I can move it, and it's gonna clip and sort of snap perfectly to create this kind of like a, you know, casing. Let's go back, and we're going to solidify it outside, okay? So we're going to go to modifiers, generate and solidification. And we're going to move the solidification here underneath the mirror. And we're going to solidify it outside like that, okay? To create this kind of like a thicker casing on this camera. Let's move it backwards here a little bit. Kind of like that, right? And scale it just a little bit now, okay? Something like this. It's a bit too thick, so I'm gonna scale it down. Alright. You want this frame to be thicker, but not too thick. Cool. And obviously, let's fix this this mirror here because it got distorted. I mean, the position of verts got distorted after, you know, scaling, so we need to go back here and snap them. And the same thing in the bottom, because it's not mirrored to the bottom. So GX and snap them and you're good to go, okay? So there we go. And you can see that it's not really flat completely here, right? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna apply the mirror here. So let's go to object view and apply the mirror. Grab these two verts here, select this one, Alt A and bottom, and it's gonna flatten it with machine tools, right? And the same here, top, and now you're peachy. So there you go. Now what I want to do is I want to apply a face here in the back. So press F for face. So we have, you know, kind of like a close casket, if you will. And now what I would like to do, I would like to cut this. Now before we cut this, what we want to do is we want to add some geometry to this mesh. So we're going to have more loops going across the mesh, okay? So let's make more loops here. Let's Ctrl R and let's go back. And you see that here, we also have a bit of a problem. There's something not right with the scale here. So Ctrl A and apply scale. This should fix the problem. Also, click on even thickness to fix this back issue, okay? So now the scale is fixed and the thickness is fixed. So the walls of this solidification are going to be even on all the sides, okay? Now don't worry about bevels now yet because we're going to be doing it later. So now what I want to do is I want to actually extend it forward. So let's grab all these, right? And we're going to move them a little bit forward here to create some sort of like a roofing, right? And we're going to cut this from the front. Now, if you have Machine Tools Deus Ex, which is the 10 bucks version, what you could do is select this edge here, this one, right, with Alt, and press Alt R, and you could do that, which is basically impossible with Vanilla Blender because, I mean, you could kind of shear it, but it's a bit more complex. You could just simply, rotate this mesh like this. But if you don't have this option, we're going to use a cutter. Let's just cut this, yep. So Shift A and add a cube. We're gonna make it larger, move it somewhere here. We're gonna make it longer. Control A, apply scale. We're going to grab this edge here, so go to edge mode, right? Go to side view, press G, Y, and hold Control, and you're gonna be snapping to increments. We wanna create more or less like a 45-degree angle, but the other way around, okay? So G, Y, and move it in here. So now let's move this in, like that, okay? And what you want to cut the 2/3 of the bottom and leave the 1/3. You want to cut it in the middle. It's going to be a bit boring and static. For better design, you want to do this, okay? So Shift select that one and Control minus. And now you see, because we have these support loops here, right? These, it's going to be a bit easier for us to control the shading. In fact, I would add another loop here on the top, and these loops, by the way, got distorted. I see the problem. When I move this face to the front, the back got pulled. So here, how we're gonna fix it? Okay, let me show you. It's actually a good example. I'll show you how to fix this. What we're gonna do, we're gonna select all these loops here, and we're going to, with Shift and Alt, okay, press Ctrl X to dissolve them. We're going to grab this vert here in the back, this one. Shift select this vert and then Alt A and align it, and then rerun these loops here, and everything is fine. So now we got this cutout, we got some support loops to control the shading a bit better, and we're good to go. All right, so let's go back. Now, I think that much better would be to have this cut angled, and in order to have this cut angled, I would actually suggest doing something different. So instead of cutting it with this cutter, Alt H with this cutter, right? I would actually create a cube with a bevel, right? So let's do it again. Let's grab a cube. Let's move it here. Sometimes when you change an idea or concept, you need to kind of go with the flow and learn how to fix things, okay? Then we're gonna go to edit mode, run a loop here in the middle like this. We're gonna grab this face here and move it backwards like that. Then select this loop with Alt and run a bevel, okay, like this, right? And this is going to allow us to cut this, using a bevel. Maybe this bevel is too big, maybe a little bit smaller, something like this. Now, this could interfere with our subdivision modifier, so we're gonna be careful, okay? Let's apply auto smooth here, so it's smooth, and then we're gonna cut it, Control minus. And you see we got a bit of a beef, right? And the reason why we got a bit of a beef is because the boolean is in correct place. So again, we need to move this boolean to a correct position. And by the way, this one is dead boolean, so we can remove it. It's the previous one that we deleted. So what we want to do, we want to move this one above here, above the bevel and below the solidification, which should fix our problem. And there you go. And this is fine. Now the bevel could be a little bit larger, so we could just go here and make it a bit, a bit larger, but not too large. You can go here to profile and turn off clamp overlap to push it a bit further. This is going to create probably some issues with geometry and topology and shading. Like for example here, it starts to break, but we could fix this a bit later, later on. So let's just nuke this with H, and and there we go. We're starting to get somewhere. Now we could keep modeling this further. We could apply all of these modifiers here. So apply solidification, apply this boolean, and obviously you don't want to apply the bevel. But what we can do now is we can select this one, press Ctrl plus to expand the selection, and maybe even further like this. And then what we can do, press E, cancel this with right mouse button, press Alt S, and scale it outside like this to create this kind of like a shelling, you know, outside this model. Then we could go here, remove this edge here, so dissolve edges, and then grab this edge and simply create a chamfer here like this, right? Which is going to be pretty interesting. And you know, then we could just keep playing with it. We could create some, you know, cutouts, you know, on the other side, or we could grab these cylinders, right? Go to edit mode, select the face, you know, insert it and extrude it through. So they're gonna be poking through this, you know, this casing here, and we could, you know, I don't know, maybe create some bevels. So press Control B, and then you know, scale it down and create some openings for cables, for example, right? And there you go. And then we obviously will need some mounting, so we can just, you know, add a very simple cube here, move it down here, scale it a little bit like that, so it's not too thick. We're gonna place it maybe somewhere like this, gonna be more interesting. Let's apply scale, then go to edit mode and chamfer this edge here. I think this is gonna be quite nice. Maybe this could be a little bit smaller or flatter. Something like this, right? And technically let's scale this, move it in here on X. We're going to mirror it to the other side. So let's grab a mirror. So let's go to mirror and mirror this on X-axis, right? So in our case, it's going to be, hang on a second. We need to use this this empty. So click here and select this empty to mirror to the other side. Move it a little bit to you know, to the left hand side like that. I think it's still too thick. There we go. And then we could simply create some hinge in here, you know. So Shift A, and let's add a cylinder here. Let's move it down and rotate it on 90 on y-axis, scale it down, and you know, pop it somewhere in here to create a joint. Let's scale it out like this, and you know, right click and shade auto smooth. Let's go to the edge, and by the way, let's apply scale. Go to edge mode, select this edge with Alt Control B to, we could actually bevel this, you know, like that. And then select this face, I to insert it and move it inside a little bit, maybe not that deep. So E, and you know, extrude it in like that. So now we're going to grab this cylinder. We're gonna add the modifier mirror, right? And we're gonna mirror this across this empty again, right? So you know, select this one and the empty, and boom, right? And we need to flip it to the other side. So there we go, right? And then you can add the bevel and all that. So let's just, you know, go to edge mode. Maybe we could just, you know, bevel these here to create this kind of a shape. I think it's interesting. Shade auto smooth, and there you go. You could have some additional shape in here, you know, on this side. So we could grab maybe these edges and you know, and bevel them. I see that's not scaled properly. So hang on a second. Let me just scale this. Apply scale, and one more time. That's better. You see, there we go. And you know, this is kind of interesting, right? So this would work, and there's gonna be obviously some kind of like a, you know, here's some sort of mounting system for this camera, and this could be done very easily with another cube. So let's grab another cube and move it in here, make it much more narrow here like this, right? And apply scale. Obviously we could just go here to edit mode, select this, so I just Control B, and if you're going to see this clamp, kind of like an overlapping of bevels, press C to clamp it. Now the only problem with clamping is that you're gonna end up with two edges here in the middle, so what you want to do is press 3 with machine tools to clean it. And again, if you can't see that shortcut, go to machine tools, enable cleanup option, okay, save preferences, you're good to go. And we could just simply, you know, pop this in here and you know, just create some sort of like a make-believe, let me just add auto smooth here to this one. Make-believe joint, yeah. And there you go, this is a very simple camera. Obviously we need bevels because it's very bland. So let's go here and add a bevel. So let's go here to generate and bevel, and then we're gonna again have to add 3 segments. Let's change this bevel to something a bit smaller. It could be a bit thicker than the other one, kind of like a slightly smoother, sort of a design here. You see, that's an issue with lack of weighted normals. So let's go to normals and boom, problem solved. And obviously auto smooth has to be above. And see how important modifier stack is. Blender is locking you here, pinning this modifier underneath the weighted normals, and you will not know what the hell is going on. This is an incorrect modifier stack. I don't know who's designing, and coding this, but this was a very bad idea. It's very confusing. It actually adds you additional step that you need to perform by simply unpinning the modifier, which is, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to add friction, and steps that need to be performed in order to use your program code? See that? To unpin this, go to normals, and boom, right? And now it's peachy. In order to smooth this, what you want to do is we'll add subdivisions to control 1, but this is going to, you can see, create a disaster. And the reason for that is because we don't have any bevel. So we need to add a bevel first, right? So let's just go back here. Let's, in fact, let me just save this file, because if this crashes, I'm going to be slightly annoyed. And I'm going to run PowerSave. PowerSave is a fantastic add-on. It's free. Get it. It was created by Buongiorno7, member of Team C for Hardops. Anyway, I'm going to go here, and with this, this inner case selected, I'm going to go here and generate a bevel. I'm going to move this bevel above above the solidification. Let me just toggle this stack so you can see. There you go. I increase the number of segments to 3 and change the size of it. In fact, we're going to, again, nuke this clumping here. Right, let me just select this. There we go. Solidification needs to be above the bevel. There we go. And let's go back to bevel and make it smaller. There we go. Don't overshoot the bevel here, because you're going to get weird stuff. You cannot make a bevel too large. And shade auto smooth. That's perfect. And obviously we need 3 segments. There we go. And you guessed it, weighted normal modifier. Unpin this, and then go to normals, and boom, problem solved. And now with this I can press Ctrl 1 to add subdivision. Obviously it needs to be above smooth by angle and weighted normals. It's going to smooth all this design really nicely. So you see, like, we're cheating because we're adding subdivision to mesh that technically should not be subdivided. Now, in addition to this, what we could do is add some stuff here on the top, just for fun, So we could scale this here like this, and add something here on the top, and maybe move this to the front, like this, right? Maybe closer. There we go. And apply scale, obviously, and grab this corner and chamfer it. Now, you see, I can't really rotate it because it's going to rotate the whole structure. So you could either move this edge here, right? Or I can just do it with machine tools, Deus X edge constraint, Alt R. I can even hold Control to, or Shift to adjust its angle to whatever I want, which is something like this, a bit too big. There we go, I want some gap here. And obviously I want some mirrors. So let's go to generate mirror. And we're simply going to mirror it across this empty, right? Didn't work. Let me see this again. Where is this empty? Here. Mirror across the empty. And boom, right? And there you go. And you could create some additional detail here if you wanted to. I don't know, some maybe bevel here or something, or even bevel here, whatever, right? To make it more interesting. Shade smooth by angle, and we could add bevel, or we could simply do it manually, right? We could just add a bevel here by holding Alt and adding bevel to this edge, or, do it properly and keep it procedural. So let's add a bevel here, and, 3 segments, and let's make them smaller. And obviously we're gonna need to weight that normal modifier because reasons, right? So here, boom, weighted normal sorted. And the similar element could be at the bottom, or at the bottom, you know, we could have something else, something different. For example, what we could do is grab these faces, move them in like this, and let's just grab this to local view. I want to show you something. Let's go to edge mode, press K for knife, and we're going to slice it here. Click, press A, go all the way here, and before you click, press C to cut through, click and space. It's going to cut through your mesh like this, okay? And what we want to do is we want to grab this face. Let's go back, and we want it to move it, so E, and extrude it in like this, right? And again, you want to go to mirror and clip it. So GX and clip it, boom. And there you go. And now see, we got this issue. The reason why it's happening is because there's a face inside. So watch this. If I go inside here and go to Alt Z to see this face, I'm going to remove this face, X, and delete the face. The problem is going to disappear, because you see what you're doing is you extruding this and mirroring, so that two faces overlapping on top of one another and creating a problem, because that's why bevel is breaking. Okay, you're going to be like, what the hell is happening? If you apply the mirror, you will see two faces inside of your mesh that shouldn't be there. The mesh technically inside should be empty, right? So that's why you need to remove this face. And see, this is a problem with the miter. So again, go to bevel, go to geometry, switch to arc, and you're peachy, right? And since this is a bigger bevel, you know, this one is a much more smoother bevel. The bevel is larger. You might want to increase the number of segments to 5. You see, it's going to be much smoother. So when you have a larger bevel, increase the number of segments, okay? And you know, and this would do. I think this would do. This is, you know, this is kind of cool. What you could also do, you could grab one of these edges here, right, and press E, right click to cancel, Alt S, and simply scale it inside like this. So this is going to create this kind of like a rim. You see that? That's gonna be sort of you know, kind of wrapping this camera inside, creating a bit more volume, kind of like a, you know, sort of casing inside, right? Making it more robust, and you know, there's more elements to it. In addition to this, what we could do is grab a cube and create some two kind of like small, you know, what do you call them? Small like clamps or something here on the top, right? So make it flat like this, make it a bit longer on y-axis, apply scale, and then go to edit node, select this one and chamfer it, right? And we're gonna drop it down like this, okay? Into the mesh like this, all right? And what we could do is grab these and just simply bevel them, all right? And then shade auto smooth, and obviously you want to mirror this again. So what we could do now, we could try to borrow the modifiers from another mesh, because we need to mirror and bevel at smooth by angle, which we have, and weighted normals. So let's just remove this, and which is going to create a nasty shading, but don't worry about it. Go to edit preferences, enable extension called copy attributes menu. This will allow you to copy all kinds of things, including modifiers. So select that, shift select this one, Control C, and copy modifiers. You see it's going to copy the bevel, the weighted normals, the mirror, the everything. So now you can click on this model and adjust the bevel. So the bevel is actually a little bit smaller, not so big, but other modifiers are being copied. And this is going to kind of create some, you know, a bit of a interesting detail here. Same here on the back. What we could do, create a bit of a rim. Is so we could add another, you know, cut here. Now remember, there's a subdivision modifier running on this or not? Oh, it's not. Okay, cool. So let's split this into 4, right? You want to have 4. You want to GG them closer together. These are gonna be the securing loops. We're going to grab this whole loop with Alt. We're going to press E, cancel with right mouse button, Alt S to move it inside on normals. And we're going to split it. So press I to insert it to create additional, see, 2 edges inside. So if I turn off the bevel, you'll see what I mean, right? Now the bevel is a little bit too large because it's overshooting, you see that? So we need to lower the size of the bevel, right? Just a little bit, boom, you see? You got nasty shading over there. And that would do. I mean, we could also add subdivision here to this section, but this would require a bit more work, because we would need to fix the topology here on this face. Otherwise, if I'm going to add the subdivision here as is, it's going to collapse. The subdivision simply doesn't have enough support in terms of topology here, and it's simply being pulled in and collapsing on itself. So you would need to secure all these edges here either manually or simply delete that face and fix it, in a different way. But if you do that, then the subdivision is going to have, enough topology to be held here. See that? Not collapsing on this edge because I fixed it, but you will need to go around and fix all this mesh, In fact, you know what? I can show you, because why the hell not? Now, this will need to be cleaned up here, all these. So you can do this with machine tools. You can enable smart vert on the machine tools, and you click with shift click and press 1 to combine the verts. It's similar to a vert merge in Blender. These loops don't really matter, they don't really do much for us because they're not really holding the structure, but they kind of helping with shading here a bit. Okay. And then you would need to clean it up a bit, so connect, these here together like that, and clean this up a little bit like this. Clean up all the verts here that are really close together. Do that, here, right? And this is going to allow you to and let's slide it down a bit. This is going to allow you to run much cleaner, subdivision. I'll show you in a minute. It's going to work perfectly fine on this side, and the other side you will need to do the same, or simply run a mirror, right? Same here. This is a no-go. You would need an edge here with J, another one here with J, another one here with J. Combine these here because it's a rogue topology. This one is a little bit close here. I would just move it backwards like this and run an edge here. In fact, what I would do, I would run a knife connection here to this one, right? And nuke this because this one is completely unnecessary here. Okay, so you could just, remove it. And this is going to be kind of like a very dirty sort of a, sub-D prep, okay? And this should work. So now look, if I'm going to run subdivision, you see, the right-hand side is fine. So all I need to do now is I simply need to generate mirror, and move it obviously above the bevel, and run it not here but across the empty. Let's go back. So where's the empty here? Let's just select the empty. Boom. Press X. Yeah, don't get confused. And this should be fine. So if I apply the mirror, everything should be peachy. So you see now the right hand side get copied to the left hand side. And now if I'm going to run a sub-D with Control 1, everything is peachy, you see? It's holding. And you can't tell, that the topology is basically an absolute disaster, because, technically if you were creating a clean sub-D, this is not the way to go, okay? I mean, it's close, but not good enough. All these loops here would need to be redirected because the flow is just simply not great. Right, but for the purpose of our tut here, this is fantastic. This would be the end of this tut. I hope you learned some cool techniques, and like I said, if you're really interested in learning hard surface modeling, all the tools, all the menus, all the tricks and tips, and the whole workflow from blockout, detailing, texturing, rendering, the whole process, then grab our course because it's really, really good. It's very concise, and it's going to save you a ton of time, ton of headache and frustration. You don't have to look through YouTube fragmented videos, and waste your time on learning bad and incorrect techniques. You're gonna get the proper curriculum with a very well organized and well structured content. And this course is the second edition of our initial course for beginners, and it was redone from scratch based on feedback we received from over 100,000 students that we taught. So we have a lot of expertise and experience in terms of teaching the basics of Blender and hard surface, because we created so much content on it and also so many courses, and we get constant feedback from students, and we know exactly what works for them and what doesn't and what they need. So this course is superb. So go ahead, click on the link in the video description and enjoy. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.